So I was just sitting here thinking about how the book of Judges, it prepared us for the current state of our society. So if you think about the story of Samson and Delilah, you know, Samson is his strength was in his hair, and somehow Delilah seduced him and encouraged him to disclose the areas of power, his area of power. But if you really think about it, it's in alignment with the energy harvest that's happening today, how human beings have the ability to drain you on sight because they've mirrored, or they're aiming to mirror, your strength. Now, psychology call it neurosis. Neurosis is the suppression of the pleasure, right? Or you can also look at it from another angle, which is NoFap, semen retention for men, withholding the orgasm for women. But if you look at the years of sex education and even the many statistics of women's opinions, or, you know, their honest information in regards to the pleasure that they receive during sexual intercourse, a lot of women have claimed to not orgasm, or they're least likely to experience an orgasm in the midst of a sexual interaction. Whereas the man, he's more likely to receive an orgasm. So if you go back to the story of Samson and Delilah, Samson, on the other hand, his strength was in his hair. And the man's strength is typically in their hair, of course, the crown of their head, right? If he's the leader, he's a leader. He has to lead with his wisdom, which is the wise dome, the wisdom of his dome, right? It's his knowledge. So if the man's energy is being harvested through his crown, he's voluntarily giving it out through the ejaculation of his semen. So if you go to today's society, we live in a fast hookup society where everything is branded upon instant gratification. It's, you know, especially with the rise of online dating and social media, it has become so much, it has opened up many doors to just meet people and to hook up. But many people don't realize that, you know, the parable of Samson and Delilah centuries ago, because I believe it's in the New Testament. And, you know, we have to base it on his story when the New Testament was actually written. But neither here nor there, it shows us how it has been a slow decline of the lack of testosterone in men. And whereas today women are currently appearing to be stronger than the man. Now, it confuses me because women have their level of strengths, but men also hold their level of strength, and that's in their testosterone. But it also goes back to the propaganda around the hair, and how, if you think about it, the brown culture, predominantly the African American community, are taught and programmed to reject their hair, right? And that's their crown, though. So if you reject your hair, that means that your crown is typically blocked, because that means that you're not feeding your crown, you're not nourishing your crown, you're not only neglecting the crown of your head. Now remember, the pineal gland is a direct connection to the crown of your head. So if you're blocking your crown, that's ultimately going to lead to the blockage of your pineal gland, which means that your energy will be very wayward, right? So if you look at the world and how we're operating on today, now remember, I spoke about Samson and Delilah. I spoke about the crown of our head and the direct connection to our pineal gland. And, I also spoke about the rejection of our hair, the power Samson possessed in his hair, as well as the gluttonous of society today surrounding the hookup culture and the need for instant gratification. So if over time we've been handing out our strength freely, okay? Because we're handing it out freely, especially partaking in the hookup culture. We're being initiated in the hookup culture just simply because the propaganda that surrounds it makes it a social norm, and the traditional beliefs from years ago, they're being washed away and they're being replaced with a new social movement. But the social movement, if you think about it, it was prophesied years ago. And although I do believe that there are many areas of the Bible that has been edited and rewritten, I also believe that these stories, they surround, they speak in parables, okay? And how you're able to view the parable and connect it to reality, the current level of society that we're experiencing today, it shows you how even with the movie, there was a movie out, and in the movie it was speaking about how the strength of man was mirrored, and one of the areas that they used to mirror the strength of man was through the hair. So if you look at how man is rewriting the prophecies that was spoke years ago, I believe that they were placed in front of us all along. It takes us back to that 2020 vision. Now remember, in 2020, our world was in it went through a major pandemic, okay? But it also puts you back to that 2020 vision. What are you seeing? Is your crown and your mind completely disconnected subconsciously as well as consciously? You see, you're not going to be able to get to a point where you're able to decode these areas and these parables in front of us if you're not only giving away your power, because not only are we giving away our power freely, now free will says that, you have the ability to govern yourself. I believe that's what free will is supposed to mean. But if you're freely distributing your power, not realizing that that's your wealth, that's not only your generational wealth, it's ancient, because your strength, it dates back to the forefathers and the ancestors. It was passed down to us. Now, regardless of the trauma that may surround those areas, because these blockages that are present in society today, they didn't happen overnight, y'all. This has been, now remember, I went back to the Samson and Delilah. Now look how man is currently being seduced. Not only does man reject their own crown, a lot of times, especially in the brown community, they reject the women from the same cultural background. And ultimately, one of the main things that they speak about is the hair. You see, so, it's terrible because I feel that as women, a lot of us are taught in our youth to reject our crown and to cover it with long extensions to mirror Europeans, or, to just simply not embrace the beauty that you are birthed with, right? But if your crown is blocked, how can you not, or how can you repel against the movement to calcify, to continue to keep us calcified? Pardon me, I almost lost my frame of thought there. So, but yeah, this calcification, it starts in our spirit. I believe that the spirit becomes calloused and calcified, and it trails into the vessel. Because remember, you have the soul, you have the spirit, and you have the body, and then you have the mind, because the mind is a direct reflection of those other three areas: the soul, the spirit, and the vessel. Now, the mind is the driver. That's the driving force. So if you are so disconnected from your mind, that means that you're backseat driving. Oftentimes, you on the hood of the car with no brakes because your soul, your spirit, and your vessel is out of alignment. And for many of us, y'all, I'm not going to say it's not our fault, because what it does by saying that is that it keeps us in that victim mentality. But what I want to bring awareness to is the importance to acknowledge when you are victimized, while embracing the ability to survive any and every adversity that you were faced and forced to feel victimized, while maintaining your dignity and your principles. Because it's easy for a person who have been victimized to become angry and react in these angry outbursts, okay? Again, when you react, you're giving away your power. And for many people, their power was taken. Now, today, you hear the term energy harvesting, right? But I also believe that there's a scripture. I do believe there's truth in the scripture of the Most High keeping a jar that stores our tears. Now, another way you can view that parable of storing our tears, just because you don't cry on the outside, it doesn't mean that your soul and your spirit isn't crying. See, that's where the strength comes. It goes back to, we are strongest when we are weak. Now, you may be so broken that a tear won't fall from your eyes, but your soul is yearning, it's screaming, it's aching. And it's there where you're able to draw your strength. You're able to draw your strength. You're able to find that well of everlasting life, of the healing. It comes from humility, because the Most High, He thrives on a broken and contrite spirit. Because I truly believe that our soul isn't designed to break. But the way life has it is that you can become so victimized where your spirit becomes broken in your younger years, ultimately calcifying your vessel and clouding your judgment. So if your judgment is clouded and your mind is entangled, it's another scripture that speaks about the weeds and how, the idea will be placed in your mind and it can be drowned away by the weeds. And the idea can come back again and it can be trapped away. And, the prophecy of that parable, it tells us that the enemy or the devil or Satan or whatever name you want to reference man, because oftentimes it's man that's operating as the serpent, okay, where you can have the idea in your mind and it's in there, it's planted in there. The universe planted it to you, you prophesied it, the Most High placed it in your vessel, because these gifts, they're given to us. We earn them, right? But man has the ability to confuse you, because that's what it does. Man is the one who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Man has the ability to cloud your mind. And I'm not solely speaking on man as and discrediting from female. I just mean the mankind. Because if we as children are created from the semen of a man and the woman births the man, there would have to be a power greater than each and every one of us that created the polar opposite, because they needed each other to reproduce, to procreate, right? But mankind has the ability to drain us, and to drain us of these dreams, to cloud our judgment, to block our vision, to program our mind. Now, if your spirit is broken and your vessel is calcified, that means you're disconnected from your soul. Now, every action that's carried out from your mind, because the mind, you have the conscious mind and you have the subconscious mind. The anatomy, the human body alone is so complex that, your finger can be connected to your toe, and your lungs can be connected to the side of your foot behind your pinky toe. That's how complex the human anatomy is, okay? So these blockages that arrive in our health, because we get blockages in our health, they typically started in a distribution of our strength. Now, I don't want this video to go on a little bit too long. This is part 1, and I'm going to continue with part 2 of this topic. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.